I love the sound of booing in the morning, don't you? I have to say, when we don't have a lot of control over what Donald Trump does, it sure feels good as hell when people boo him relentlessly, when people show up in the streets and tell him he is not boss. The American people are. And what's amazing to me is that Sunday, yesterday, at the US Open in Arthur Ashe Stadium, Donald Trump twice was shown up on the screen, and twice he was met with the disapproval of the crowd. The first time it was a little bit lighter booing. The second time, tremendous, overwhelming negativity directed at the Orange Menace. I am not the only witness to this, or the people, witness because the people showed these videos up on social. The New York Times, which is getting a little feisty now, also reported on it. And the reporter spared nothing, pulled no punches, which is impressive because apparently the Trump apparatus asked mainstream media outlets, the television news, cable news, not to publish any booing. But that didn't stop the New York Times from reporting on it. So I would like to share this for you. I think you will enjoy it. It's a great morning pairing with whatever kind of beverage, like iced coffee, you may be drinking. Let's play. I'm dancing to the booing. How about you? Why does this matter? It matters because nothing irks Donald Trump more than people disapproving of him. Why? Because deep down, this man has so little self-esteem that he needs to always get his narcissistic supply. Now, I want to share with you because I think you need to also know that I brought the receipts. I'm going to share with you the New York Times story. So let's go share that screen. And I got that for you. And then I will drop it into the chat. Oop, you know what I'm going to do? I'm in the chat, guys. If you are there, I'm going to drop the link. And, I'm showing comments on stage too. Okay, great, guys. So you see what I was doing. I dropped the link for you. Now, here is the article of which I speak. Okay, this is the New York Times. It was published last night. And let me read the headline. Trump is met with mostly boos at U.S. Open as security delays a match. With the president in attendance at Arthur Ashe Stadium, the men's final began as hundreds of people were still waiting to go through security screening. Now, Donald Trump, if you see on the right, was doing this salute. And what is insane is that he was also doing this salute during the national anthem, while everybody else had their hand appropriately on their heart like this. He was saluting. Why? Because he wants to be saluted. Now let's share this a little bit more. This article was written by David Waldstein. And of course, people are pissed off because the opening was delayed more than 45 minutes. And this, if you look at the caption under the photo, when President Trump was shown on stadium screens, attendees unleashed a loud round of mostly boos with some cheers mixed in. And the match was between Jannik Sinner of Italy and Carlos Alcaraz of Spain. And it was supposed to start at 2, but of course it was delayed. And even when it started, people were trying to get in through security. My favorite line here is this paragraph. So it says, Mr. Trump entered the back area of the luxury suite at the center of the stadium in Flushing, Queens at about 1:45 p.m. and spoke to several people as fans slowly filed in. There was little demonstrable cheering or booing when Mr. Trump entered the main seating area at 2:30 p.m. for the national anthem. But when he was shown on the video screens, fans unleashed a loud round of mostly boos with some cheers mixed in. The president was on the screens only briefly as he stood and saluted. After the first set, he was shown on the screens again, and at that time was met with louder, more sustained booing, as well as some cheers. Okay, so you know the kind of mood I am in this morning, a little cheerful. But I cannot ignore for you what else is happening in the world. Similar to what happened at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Donald Trump is being met with loud, with boisterous, with sustained disapproval, with resistance. So let's talk about how this started. You notice how I began this morning's show with, I love the sound of booing in the morning. Of course, I am making a reference to the film Apocalypse Now, in which the character played by Robert Duvall says, I love the smell of napalm in the morning, which is an incredible line from the film and demonstrates a complete disregard for humanity in the middle of the Vietnam War. And so I mention this because on Truth Social the other morning, here is what Donald John Trump posted. You can see this. This was, I love the smell. This was, I think, on Sunday morning. I love the smell of deportations in the morning. And it's put in quotes as if it's from the film. But in case you didn't know that, he also added, Chicago about to find out why it's called the Department of War, and 3 helicopter emojis. And below this, they have Donald Trump, his face photoshopped on Robert Duvall's body. And you see the napalm burning and a bloody sky, basically, the images, and helicopters. And then what do they say? They've mocked up the title. Instead of Apocalypse Now, it says Chipocalypse Now, as if he is declaring war on Chicago. It's not funny. It is not funny. And Chicago is not taking this lying down, right? Donald Trump is equivocating. He can't decide whether he is, God, the sun's really in my eyes. He can't decide whether he is going to send National Guard troops with ICE into Chicago, although they are making raids. And so I want to share with you a friend of mine who was at one of those rallies in Chicago. She lives right there. I'm not sure if she's watching the show, but she did share this video. And it's kind of incredible. So I'm going to share my screen and see if I can play this. I think, okay, if I open this with QuickTime Player, maybe, I don't think, okay. I think what I'm going to have to do, guys, is it's a little complicated. I think I need to save this. I'm going to save it, I think, and see if that will allow me. Okay, I think I have saved it, and I think I can show it to you now. Sorry, guys. Let's see if this worked. I want to share this video with you. Oh, I know. I bet. It's a little more complicated than that. So I'm going to show you that in a moment once I figure that out. But people are shouting and resisting. And so there was one of my favorite reporters, Yamiche Alcindor. I think she's reporting still on PBS and other news outlets. I've met her in person. She's brilliant. She's smart. I'm sure you've seen her. And so she asked Donald Trump outside the White House yesterday, I believe it was, or it could have been outside Arthur Ashe Stadium. It's not clear to me exactly. No, it looks like it's outside the White House. Asked him, are you declaring war on Chicago? Which is a reasonable question to ask. And I think you need to listen to how disgusting and demeaning Donald Trump's response is. Now, when people first saw this, they didn't know it was Yamiche Alcindor. They just knew he was being condescending and rude. Let's play this for you. Okay, hold on. Let me turn this up a little bit, if I can. Okay, you're going to have to turn this up. She's saying, are you declaring war on Chicago? So turn this up before I play it, and then you can turn it down after it's over. I'll pause so you don't have to hear me shouting.
That, darling, that's fake news.
Well, why would the Department of Defense?
Listen, be quiet. Listen. You don't listen. You never listen. That's why you're second rate. We're not going to war. We're going to clean up our cities. We're going to clean them up so they don't kill 5 people every weekend. That's not war. That's common sense.
Mr. President, how is your
Are you ready? Are you ready?
What an absolute pig. He called her darling, and he said, listen, you never listen. That's why you're second rate. Oh my God. He doesn't even rate. He is disgusting. And so Yamiche asked him, and he said, no, we're not going to war in Chicago, right? He's trying to have it both ways. He's inciting violence and hatred. And then he is being demeaning against a Black woman reporter who he has insulted previously. And people have called him out on that. Now, as for Chicago, he was asked again about it later in the day on the tarmac. Let's listen.
It's a safe place now. But
you've been talking a lot about Chicago, and there was
No, Chicago's been talking a lot. So Chicago last week lost 9 people were killed and 28 people were shot. The week before, it was 7 people were killed and 37 people were shot. The week before that, it was the same kind of number. Chicago is a very dangerous place, and we have a governor that doesn't care about crime. I guess we could solve Chicago very quickly, but we're going to make a decision as to where we go over the next day or two.
Okay, so he's saying he's not talking about Chicago. Chicago is. Is he going to pretend that he doesn't know about the Truth Social? Is he going to pretend that he did not try to demean and diminish a Black female reporter? He doesn't know what he's doing, but he's also trying to keep people guessing. And it's really dangerous. He is failing. Donald Trump is failing at everything he's doing. As we talked about last week, the courts are rejecting his tariff plans. And even on their face, the markets are rejecting them. Prices are high. We are not getting the relief he promised. Yes, consumers and businesses in the United States are paying the tariffs. And of course, the courts don't like them because most of the tariffs that he has sort of frivolously and irresponsibly and defying all logic, mathematics, and economics imposed on countries, these sort of blanket tariffs as opposed to specific industries. These blanket tariffs are not lawful under the so-called IEEPA authority, the International Economic Emergencies Act, right? Protection Act, IEEPA. He doesn't have the authority from Congress to do what he's doing. We're not going to take a deep dive into that, but he is failing. And so what is he doing as he's failing and flailing? He's going to try to use physical domination. And I want you to watch how angry his face is. We're going to play you the Yamiche, darling, you never listen. He has a very violent face. I mean, Yamiche is probably a little shorter than me. I'm 5'4". I think having seen her, she might be 5'2". I can't be sure. And he is obviously she could be as tall as me, but not taller. And Donald Trump is maybe, he says 6'2", maybe, in his high heels he is. And he is menacing and leaning over her. And I would feel physically threatened. And the thing is, I would punch back with my words. And I know that's not something that's possible in that press pool. So I wouldn't last very long. She has so much courage and strength to not spit at him. Let's watch that. Look at his face.
That's fake news. When you say that, darling, that's fake news.
Well, why would
I
the
don't go to
Department of
war.
Defense?
Listen, be quiet. Listen. You don't listen. You never listen. That's
Listen, be quiet, listen, you never listen. That's why you're second rate. I cannot. And this triggers me in this way that I think I've built my entire life so that men like this or people like this, doesn't matter, but usually it's embodied in this way, don't get to bully anyone. They shouldn't have power. And this is what we have. And so I feel like this is what this whole administration represents: domination, bullying, a certain kind of throwback to white male patriarchy based on intimidation, bullying, and violence. That's not what I want inside of a family, inside of a community, and in charge of a country. I thought we rejected tyrants, and he is a tyrant in every single way. Now, I got to tell you, there was some breaking news at the end of the week that was so exciting that I wanted to share it with you here and talk it through. I think the news is getting it wrong, and I think our friend from the 5'8", LB, aka Lincoln's Bible, real name Stephanie Koff. You remember she was on here, a show that you could watch now in reruns because it's not to miss in the context of this. Last Friday, a few days ago, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, got himself all tangled up and said, and you're going to hear it, he said that Donald Trump was an informant for the FBI, that he informed on Jeff Epstein. I'm going to play this for you, and we're going to talk about it on the other side.
I'm not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has great sympathy for the women who have suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago.
There's a lot going on in there. First of all, let me deal with it on its face. I believe that Stephanie Koff, LB, is correct. I believe that Donald Trump ratted out Jeff Epstein when they were competing for that piece of real estate right near Mar-a-Lago, okay? And this is something you and I have talked about, several times. Now, I want to be clear about this, that when I say this, I don't think Donald Trump is absolved because he ratted out his friend. I think he is implicated and decided to drop the dime on Jeff Epstein when Jeff Epstein got in his way. Donald Trump is somebody just like a mob boss or a mob puppet who knows that you get dirt on people and you don't use it until you need it. Everything is about deal making, right? Nothing is about integrity. Remember that it was in 2000 when a young 16-year-old girl was so-called taken from Mar-a-Lago, someone who was working. This was, as you know, Virginia Roberts Joffrey, who was taken, as he put it, stolen essentially from Mar-a-Lago. And he didn't do anything about that at the time. Let's just look at this. This was in 2000. She was 16. She was a spa attendant at Mar-a-Lago, and Ghislaine recruited her. Remember this? And she ends up being trafficked by Jeff Epstein. And it wasn't in 2000 when Donald Trump decided he'd had enough of him. It wasn't until 4 years later when they were fighting over a Palm Beach mansion around then, or 2005, when he ratted out Epstein. So what happened there? A lot of people are saying, oh, this is bullshit. Donald Trump wasn't an informant. Fuck yes, he was. He was. He was a rat. He ratted out Epstein. He dropped the dime on him. And the reason why people listen to Donald and not to for years, remember back in 1995, young girls and their parents tried to stop Jeff Epstein, right? It didn't happen then. Donald Trump was friends with Epstein for more than 15 years and chose that moment when Epstein decided to bid against him on the real estate. Not only did Donald Trump get that house, but he also got Jeff Epstein. He did. And we later know, as LB talked about in the show this last Friday night, not my show, but with Greg after this news came out, that there's a whole other history around this home that Donald Trump was able to get involving Russian organized crime. That happens later. Bottom line is this. I believe when Mike Johnson said, oh, Donald Trump was upset about this, he was an FBI informant. He was speaking the truth. Now, hold on. Now Mike Johnson is trying to roll that back. Why? Because everyone's pointing out, wait a second. Is the whole Epstein story a hoax, or did he inform on the guy? And of course, the reconciliation of those two things that Donald Trump is, they're trying to say, although they pull this back, is, oh, the hoax is you guys talking about it when not doing anything about it before. The hoax isn't that it happened. Although the problem with that is the response from the public is fine. If Donald Trump was really an informant, then why shouldn't we just show what he knew? The bottom line is, as you probably know, when you become an informant, it's not because you're a goody two-shoes sitting in your window looking down on the street and watching crime happen. Donald Trump was a useful rat on his friend because he was there. He had the details. And of course, when he tells the story, I'm sure to the FBI, he didn't try to implicate himself. Now, here's the deal. This isn't the first time Donald Trump got into informing on people. As you may know, and as I talked about in Big Dirty Money, Donald Trump ratted out a jewelry store. The jewelry store was Bulgari, I believe. Hold on, I'm going to just make sure because I don't have, make sure. Yeah, okay, I got this. It was in 1986. And Donald Trump, and it was written about, is even in, it's been written about many times, including, it was written about many times. I'm seeing Forbes, but I'm seeing PBS, but I'm seeing in 1986. So I want to share this with you so you can see what I'm talking about. I like to, again, I don't like to BS you. I like to bring receipts so you can see this. Oops. Okay. So Bulgari is a jewelry store, obviously. And hold on one second. I'm going to blow this up for you. So it says, this is December 5th, 1986. Jewelry store executives pleaded guilty Friday in a sales tax evasion scam that discounted purchases by Henry Kissinger, Frank Sinatra, Mary Tyler Moore, Donald Trump, and other well-to-do shoppers. Executives for the Swank Bulgari jewelry store on Fifth Avenue, right near Donald's home, admitted the store failed to pay sales taxes on $1.5 million worth of jewelry it sold. They must pay almost $2 million in fines and penalties, officials say. Mayor Edward Koch said a fine was not enough and that those found guilty should be sent to jail. Okay. Now, he said 15 days in jail for a prominent person is a prominent sentence. Now, none of the customers who included Adnan Khashoggi, reportedly the richest man in the world, was charged because the law states that the stores, not purchasers, are responsible for paying tax. Now, they say that, but let me tell you, if they wanted to charge, that's a bit of BS. Hold on. Reporters don't understand things. This was, you could argue it was a conspiracy. And they could have charged the customers, guys. Don't believe that, but that's a separate issue. Okay. So Nicola Bulgari, 45 in Manhattan, and these other folks, pleaded guilty in Manhattan. And, this involved Interpol. And what we know, by the way, you might say, what in the world does this have to do with Donald Trump? Well, what it has to do with Donald Trump is that Donald Trump was the informant. I'm going to share this with you from Forbes. And okay, so you got that story from UPI. You got a more recent story from Forbes. Okay. This is called Donald Trump's Tax Returns and the Empty Jewelry Box Scam. And this was published in March of 2016 when he was running the first time. And, he was always claiming that he was under audit. So let's look at the empty jewelry box scam, because this is the Bulgari thing. Back in 1986, and likely for many years before, Donald Trump colluded in tax evasion with Bulgari Jewelry Store in New York, a high-end posh location with Tony clientele right out of Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Want to know how this worked? Trump would go into the store with his wife, his girlfriend, whatever, to use his vernacular. He would then buy her an expensive necklace or wristwatch. Normally, such a transaction would face the New York City and state sales tax, which would be pretty high on luxury jewelry. In an illegal attempt to evade the tax, Trump asked the store to instead ship the jewelry to an out-of-state location where no New York sales tax could be collected. In fact, the store would merely send an empty jewelry box to the location, while Trump and his lady friends walked out the door with the jewelry that very day. The state and city tax collectors eventually caught on to this scheme, and Trump promptly testified against his erstwhile tax evasion colluding partners at the jewelry store to save his own skin. Okay? So that, my friends, is that. I mentioned this to you because that was happening. Now, separately, why do I think Donald Trump dropped the dime on the FBI, on Jeff Epstein? And why do I think that's part of what he doesn't want us to really know, because now he's backing away from it? It's everything that LB, Stephanie Koff, has talked about, that Donald Trump was very close to organized crime in New York. And her point is, she's always thought, and this is, again, you should watch the 5/8 from Friday. And I want to thank, I think it was Deb, my wonderful, one of my wonderful mods here, who told me to watch their show, the first 15 minutes. And what LB, Stephanie Koff, reminds us is that Donald's ties to organized crime make it likely that in addition to getting help from organized crime when he needed them, and laundering money apparently for members of organized crime, and she suggested that the Russian mob had rolled up the Italian mob, so it was all kind of together. Again, I'm talking about what Stephanie talks about. She suggests that Donald Trump was also an informant, that he was playing both ends against the middle. An informant who? To the FBI. So is it also possible that he was giving intelligence to Russia under the name Krasnov? We've heard that before. Look, I hate to use the word intelligence in the context of Donald Trump, but I will say there's more to what Mike Johnson said than meets the eye. And obviously, Donald Trump's been saying and repeating himself, as he does, probably to Mike Johnson and others, look, I hated this guy. I cooperated with the FBI, I helped them. Okay. So the question is, what was he doing with Jeff Epstein before he ratted him out? And now is Donald Trump, was he going to try to say, all those pictures you saw me in, I was just informing? I don't think he contacted the people, the FBI, who he may have worked with before. I don't think he contacted them until, it was 2004, 2005. I don't think so. And this is the window in which eventually Jeff Epstein's investigated in Florida by the federal prosecutors as well as the state and local, and ends up getting that sweetheart deal where Alex Acosta absolutely drops the case against him, even though there was a full-blown indictment. Okay. I got more on this. As you may have heard in some new reporting in the Miami Herald, there are some suspicious payments. I think one was like for $250,000 and one was $100,000. And I believe NBC wants to find out who those payments were made to. So let me be clear. Now I'm fast forwarding to 2019 or 2018, around the time that Jeff Epstein, it must have been 2019, when Jeff Epstein is investigated and indicted in that window, that he wired out through a trust he managed funds to two people. And NBC wants the DOJ to reveal who these two people are based on the reporting. Both people were mentioned, they said, in the excellent reporting done by the Miami Herald's Julie K. Brown. One of them was described as appearing in there and a co-conspirator. And the second one was also described as a co-conspirator, but more specifically as an employee who was making arrangements on behalf of Epstein. So this seems like pretty important news, these transfers of money. And I want to share you with the source of that with you, because I want you to see the news we're talking about. And what's interesting, hold on, let me just try to find this. Okay, this is from NBC News. I'm going to share my screen here. So much happened over the weekend. Okay, here we go. So this is an exclusive from NBC News. Reporter is Tom Winter. DOJ says names of two associates Epstein wired $100,000 and $250,000 should stay secret. Oh, of course they say that. Okay. By the way, this is a picture of Epstein in 2004, 15 years before he died in prison, reportedly by suicide. Okay. Let me read this to you. This was from September 6th. This was Saturday. The Justice Department on Friday asked a federal judge overseeing the case of deceased sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein to deny a request from NBC News to unseal the names of two associates who received large payments from him in 2018, court documents show. The Justice Department cited privacy concerns expressed by the two individuals as the reasons for not making their names public. The first associate received a payment of $100,000 from Epstein, and the second associate received a payment of $250,000, both in 2018. Okay, so it was before he was arrested, but both in 2018, days after the Miami Herald began publishing a series of investigative stories where victims criticized a plea deal he received in Florida in 2008. As part of the plea agreement, Epstein secured a statement from federal prosecutors in Florida that the two individuals would not be prosecuted. The payments became public after Epstein was indicted and arrested in New York in 2019 and asked to be released on bail. Federal prosecutors in New York filed a memorandum on July 16th, 2019, that argued Epstein should remain in jail to prevent him from tampering with witnesses. They cited the payments he made to the two individuals, which began 2 days after the Miami Herald began publishing its stories. Okay, so who got on November 30th? Epstein wired the $100,000 to a co-conspirator. Okay. And they said, the prosecutor said this individual was also named and featured prominently in the Herald series. Then they also said he gave $250,000 to someone who's named as a potential co-conspirator and for whom Epstein also obtained protection in the NPA, right? And they said this individual, the second one who got more money, and I'm reading from what the prosecutor said, is also one of the employees identified in the indictment, which alleges that she and two other identified employees facilitated the defendant's trafficking of minors by, among other things, contacting victims and scheduling their sexual encounters with the defendant at his residences in Manhattan and Palm Beach, Florida. So all of us are wondering, who is this individual one and individual two? There are a lot of guesses. I'm not going to guess. I always promise to give you the truth. I'm not going to make guesses. You can try to, Google or look on social media. I want actual answers. Answers. Who are these people? It matters to us who these people are, because it would show you or show us, like, for example, and I'm not saying it's her, what if the first person was Ghislaine Maxwell? We don't know. I mean, she's someone who I'm comfortable saying maybe about. I doubt it was her, but I'm only saying that because it would be helpful to us, therefore not trusting what she has said. Why I'm doubtful about that is I don't think that we would, if it was her, it would have come up at her trial. And we have not heard NBC News make that suggestion. So it's obviously somebody else. We can have a lot of ideas of who that somebody else would be. Maybe it was someone who was a lawyer. And maybe the argument the person would make is that they got the money for legal fees in advance. I don't know who it is, but I do know the public has the right to know. Great. Now, I got more. Let's pivot right now into Donald Trump's failed economic policies. He is still actually insisting that prices are down. You got to hear him with his bullshit.
Mr. President, the price of beef continues to rise and other items keep going up. Is there any way to address the cost of beef?
Yeah, once it kicks in, once our policies kick in, the price of beef will be going down, just like the price of eggs went down and the price of a lot of other grocery items went down. Beef will go down. It'll all go down. Energy has gone way down. The price of gasoline has gone really,
Okay. They're asking about the price of beef. Apparently it's really high. I don't eat red meat, so I don't know, but I'm seeing that it's I've reported on it here that it's extremely high. And he's claiming, once, our policy kicks in, then it's going to definitely be lower. And it goes through a litany of things claiming that the prices are lower on things like eggs and gasoline and so on. And, I think he's lying. And so let's just look at PolitiFact and see what people are saying. I'm not sure how accurate PolitiFact is, but let's try to see. I think they're better than nothing. So PolitiFact, he said groceries are down. He said this at a cabinet meeting last week, right? Groceries are down, energy is way down, was $4 and $5 for a gallon of gas. So people are saying, okay, so the prices of some foods such as eggs, bread, and fruit have declined, and energy prices have fallen 2.6%, but many food and energy items have still seen price increases. They're saying between December 2024 and July 2025, groceries used at home rose by just under 1%. But they're saying items such as ground beef, bacon, other meats, and coffee items are up as much as 11.6%. Also, electricity costs have gone up. So, this is not, most have seen increases. The fact that he is claiming these prices are down is, I believe, inaccurate. Okay, I want to see whether I was doing a Google to see if we have anything more update than that, but we don't. So obviously meat prices are up. He's claiming prices have gone down. Today on his True Social, what he's doing is he's showing these screenshots claiming certain prices went up during Joe Biden's time. I think he's trying to do some kind of level setting, saying prices were so high, so of course it's going to take me a while to bring them down. He promised he'd get prices down on day one. Also, if things were inflated so much, you would think it'd be easier to correct it with his brilliant tariff policies. So let's hear what Scott Bessent, his Treasury Secretary, had to say, because he was grilled about this on the weekend shows.
To check back in with you then, but let me drill down a little bit more on these numbers, Mr. Secretary. The president said that these tariffs are going to spark a manufacturing renaissance, he called it. But since he announced them in April, the U.S. has actually lost 42,000 manufacturing jobs. Are these numbers proof that the tariffs are failing to produce the manufacturing jobs that President Trump promised?
Again, Kristen, it's been a couple of months, and with the manufacturing sector, as you know, we can't snap our fingers and have factories built. So what we're seeing is a record amount of investment intentions. We've seen a capex boom in the first half of the year, and I think that was actually held back. The One Big Beautiful Bill, which has full expensing for
Okay, I got to stop with his nonsense. Of course, they can't snap their fingers, but that's what Donald Trump acts like. He's claiming these manufacturing jobs would come back, that the prices would go down. Everyone warned him that the cost and the time to build factories would be, you don't turn a ship around this quickly. Furthermore, as you've probably seen, Donald Trump's goons raided a Hyundai factory. And I think they raided it because the most popular and I think the most well-rated purely electronic vehicle is the Ioniq, IONIQ. I was thinking of buying an all-electric car at one point, and that was the brand I was looking at. Car and Driver loves this brand. Different models vary, of course. And of course, I don't think Elon Musk is happy about that. But so how are we helping, Hyundai was going to build a giant factory in the U.S. And now we went in, rounded up people who were legally allowed to be here, who were workers in this factory, and people who are U.S. citizens. And the goons rounded them up and are holding them in custody. Well, South Korea is pissed off as all fuck. They're not going to continue with this factory. Donald Trump's idea is, you should train Americans. Well, first of all, fuck you. We're a nation of immigrants. Secondly, why do you think the South Korea is going to look upon us fondly? There is going to be a chartered plane sent to pick up these people and bring them back to South Korea. Donald Trump is doing more to enhance the ugly American identity than anyone I can think of. And of course, there's more. I have more on Kristen Welker on the weekend show with Scott Bessent, asked about who's paying the tariffs, because we know tariffs are a literal tax on imports that has to be paid to the U.S. government when the goods are imported. Bessent likes to say, the manufacturer will just eat that by lowering their prices. We know that, first of all, the math doesn't work out that way. And then the reality is it has been businesses who have been paying it and passing the prices on to consumers. Plus, to make matters worse, up until very recently, if you were importing things, I think the price was under $500 or under $800. So look, if you're ordering something from Temu or from Amazon or something, and the person shipping it to you is shipping it from abroad, that was going to be exempt from the tariffs. Well, that exemption is about to go away. That is going to hurt small businesses here like you cannot believe. So let's listen to Bessent still denying reality.
Hasbro says they're going to have to increase their prices. Goldman Sachs says 86% of the tariff revenue collected so far has been paid by American businesses and consumers. So just bottom line, Mr.
Okay, Welker said that really fast. Hasbro, the toy company, she talks about first. Secondly, Goldman Sachs, the investment bank and analyst, talking about who is paying these tariffs. I need you to listen to that again because it was super fast. Okay, because I want you to hear the numbers.
A new high.
Hasbro says they're going to have to increase their prices. Goldman Sachs says 86% of the tariff revenue collected so far has been paid by American businesses and consumers. So just
80, I mean, Goldman Sachs is good with numbers, unlike Donald Trump. Goldman Sachs could make a trade on the backs of the U.S. housing market and not blink an eye. Now, you might think, well, why would they tell us the truth? Well, Goldman Sachs analysts, I kind of trust on this, and they're saying 86% of the tariffs have been paid by U.S. businesses or U.S. consumers. And what is Besant's response?
bottom line, Mr. Secretary, do you acknowledge that these tariffs are a tax on American consumers?
No, I don't.
Even though you have companies saying they are going to have to increase prices, and given the fact that 86% of these tariffs so far have been paid by Americans.
You're quoting Goldman Sachs. So
yes, Goldman Sachs, correct.
I made
Which
a good,
I said, yeah.
I made a good career trading against Goldman Sachs.
Okay, all right. I do want to talk.
What a dick. I made a good career trading against Goldman Sachs. Okay. I'd like to see those numbers. So shoot the messenger, deny reality. We all know what a tariff is. I mean, these guys have their, you know what, so far up Donald Trump's digestive organs that they can't see daylight, is what I would say about that. Now, I have, I got more for you. Let's return to, let's talk about this. These policies are not popular. People, it's going to get even worse. We're about to see the subsidies involved through the Affordable Care Act on all of our insurance, right? Even if we're paying through our employers, how much we will have to pay, and our employers will have to pay in terms of premiums, I believe. I saw that. I need to confirm that. But especially if you're buying insurance through things like when I lived in Massachusetts, Mass Health, these organizations that you might not realize are part of, the Medicaid system. You might not realize as part of Medicaid Advantage or whatever. These things are going to spike up significantly. Jobs are being lost. Prices are high. Troops are in our cities. Tariffs aren't working. So people will take this out in the midterms. And J.D. Vance actually said the quiet part out loud. Let's listen.
Now, here's the bad news, Laura. The bad news is, a great political mind, one of the president's pollsters once told me that anger usually wins midterm elections. And because we've done so much what we said that we were going to do, our people aren't angry. They look at the president, they look at the administration, and they're happy with what we're doing.
Okay. Here's the truth. Anger motivates turnout. So he's saying his people are happy about that. But then why are they so worried about midterm turnout? Because the vast majority of Americans disapprove of the tariffs, disapprove of this immigration crackdown, okay? And also, the majority of Americans think childhood vaccines are a good thing because they trust their doctors. Okay. So let's talk about, I got two more things. Speaking of doctors, I have this Florida chief medical officer. I think he's I don't know what he's let me see what his actual title is. Okay, the Florida Surgeon General is what he is. And he is being grilled by Jake Tapper about what they have done in terms of projections about disease going forward if we get rid of the vaccines in Florida. And we've talked about the fact that childhood vaccines alone, over the 50 years between I think it was 1974 to 2024, worldwide saved like 150 million lives. Let me just show you this on the screen. This is 153 million lives worldwide, right? So doing this in Florida, obviously you would think if this is something, they have decided that they, I want to remove this, and I don't know how to quite do that. If they have decided that they are fine with that, then I would like to know how it is possible. Oops, sorry, guys. How it is possible that they are not doing the math. Like, how many dead children will this policy create? How many children who are hospitalized? How many women in Florida who contract measles will lose their children? How many children will have brain damage? How many elderly will die? You would think they would do the math. And this is where Jake Tapper asks the Surgeon General of Florida. Let's listen.
Vaccine mandates absolutely positively should not be something
Joseph
that is part
Lopato.
of our society.
I'm looking at this report from your department from April showing that more people in Florida are seeking religious exemptions for vaccines. And at the same time, Florida is seeing rising cases of hepatitis A and whooping cough and chickenpox. This is in your own report, your own department's report. Before you made this decision to try to lift vaccine mandates for Florida, which include obviously public schools, did your department do any data analysis? Did you do any data projection of how many new cases of these diseases there will be in Florida once you remove vaccine mandates?
Absolutely. So absolutely not, because it's not
What?
you mentioned whooping cough there. So there's this conflation of the science and sort of what is the right and wrong thing to do. So scientifically, you mentioned whooping cough. So that's an example. This is part of the issue with informed consent. That's an example of a vaccine that is ineffective. The data show that it's ineffective at preventing transmission. So sort of mandates with that really don't have anything to do with the notion of transmission. And then in terms of, like analysis, well, ultimately, this is an issue very clearly of parents' rights. So do I need to analyze whether it's appropriate for parents to be able to decide what goes into their children's bodies? I don't need to do an analysis on that.
So you're trying to lift the vaccine mandate in Florida, and your department and you did not even do a projection as to how this could impact public health. So you have not prepared hospitals in the Florida counties most at risk with the best treatments for any outbreaks of measles, mumps, rubella, whooping cough, polio, and you have not looked into how many kids might now get these preventable diseases? That's what you're saying?
No, that's what you said. What I'm saying is that it's an issue of right and wrong in terms of whether parents should be able to have ultimate authority over what happens to their kids' bodies. And in terms of outbreaks, we do have outbreaks in Florida, just like every state, and we manage those. So there are no new special procedures that need to be made.
Right, but you're talking about doing something that no other state has done.
We manage them just as always.
But you're talking about doing something that no other state in the United States has done and removing the vaccine mandate for public schools. You're making a decision that no other Surgeon General in the United States has done. It goes against what's recommended by every top medical organization, including the AMA, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Boston Center on Emerging Infectious Diseases. It goes against what parents in Florida want. 82% of parents in Florida schools said public schools should require vaccines for measles and polio with health and religious exemptions. It goes.
Okay. He lied about whooping cough. I mean, do I need to show you? Let me share a screen. This Surgeon General of Florida implied it was ineffective, he said, for transmission. I don't know if he's being technical, but this is a Cleveland clinic. I trust them more. What is pertussis, or whooping cough? And what does it do? Pertussis vaccine protects babies, children, and adults from a respiratory disease called whooping cough. Whooping cough causes uncontrollable, violent coughing fits. In babies, it can cause severe complications. All infants, children, and adults should get a vaccine to protect against it. Why? Because it can create fever apnea, which means stops and starts in breathing. It can also give pneumonia and even shaking and brain damage. So you're supposed to get a series of pertussis vaccines, 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, between 15 and 18 months, and between 4 and 6 years. This is an extremely important vaccine. How about effective? Despite the fact the Florida Surgeon General said it's not effective, here's what the Cleveland Clinic said. The whooping cough vaccine is highly effective when people get all the recommended doses. about 98 out of 100 children. It protects 98 out of 100 children for at least a year after the 5th shot, 7 out of 10 for 5 years after the 5th shot. Okay, so I just am trying to understand what's really going on here. And I find it frightening and degrading to science, to children, and to families. And you saw the data there. Families support this. And we shouldn't have to see children die, elderly die, because of these people's obedience to Donald Trump and ignorance and craven political climbing. I don't think I've seen anything worse in our society, and we talked about this before. This is the party of death. Now, one last thing before Crazy Town, or two last things. First, thank you, AJ, for our word of the day. Our word of the day is pronk. It is a verb, and she writes, of a springbok or other antelope. Pronk, leap in the air with an arched back and stiff legs, typically as a form of display or when threatened. Pronk. I like that. That's a good word. And that is from, I think AJ subscribes to a word a day email. And maybe she can drop the link into the chat and we can all join in on that word of the day. Now, again, one last video before we do this fabulous Crazy Town. And this is Donald Trump, once again, reporters trying to put him on the spot about all those red cities. I mean, cities with either in red states or with cities and states where Republicans dominate in terms of voting, or cities run by Republican mayors, and asking about those. Let's listen to what he says.
Mr. President, will you sanction Russia?
Sorry, it was hard to hear the beginning of this, but he ignores the red states. He acts like, I don't know if this is the clip I wanted. He ignores these red states. As for Russia, you know, I guess Donald Trump really scared them because they're dropping even bigger bombs or even more effective attacks on Kyiv, dangerous, and Donald Trump claims that maybe he will sanction them. I'll believe it when I see it, or I'll see it when I believe it. I kind of like that better. Okay, guys, now, are you ready for like a fucking amazing Crazy Town? I almost played this first. It's so fun. Let's do it. Let's do it. I'll do a lot of dancing this time. Guys, I feel like I cheated you on the dancing. My good friend Jenny, high school friend, hi Jenny, if you're watching, had actually asked someone to come look on her computer screen because she was laughing at how I do my dancing on Friday, and I didn't offer her anything. So that was for Jenny. Okay, guys. Have you ever had a bad day? So this is what happened. Let me give you the lead into this. There were people, two young women who I guess, this was all over TikTok yesterday. Somehow they had to have their flight rebooked at the airport. And I think they were trying to figure out where they were going. I'm not sure exactly how it happened, but they were planning to go to France, in particular to Nice. Nice is spelled N-I-C-E. And they're on the airplane, and this is what happens. I think this is amazing. So I'm going to share my screen for you so you can enjoy this. Let us go play it.
Where are you going? Nice? Is this going to Nice? To Nice, yeah. I thought you said to Nice, which is in France. Oh. That's why you confused me. Wait, where is this going? Tunis, yeah, in Tunisia. Yeah. In Tunisia? North Africa, not in France. You're not going to France, right? Yeah, we are. You are going to France? Is that where this is going? Just go for that. Oh my God, Brittany. Where's Tanisha? I don't know, Brittany.
Okay, guys, do you see what happened? They said they wanted to go to Nice, but whoever booked the flight thought they wanted to go, that they were going to Nice, Tunis. Now they are on the flight trying to figure out what's going on. They don't even know where Tunis is on the African continent. Let's play.
He misheard us. I need to go talk to them. Excuse me? Is this plane going here? Sorry? Are we going there? Is that where we're going? No. Nice? No? Where are we going? Where are we going?
To Tunis.
Where's Tunis? Hannah, here? Where's Tunis? Look at, that's what that is, Brittany.
This is Rome, sorry.
Hello. We're going to Africa?
No. Rome, Fiumicino,
Yes,
Tunis.
Yes.
We go to Tunis.
No, we're supposed to go to Nice.
No. Nice.
Yeah, France.
No.
Oh my gosh. Hannah. What do we do? We need to go. We're not going. We can't go here. We're going to wrong flight. It's the wrong flight. We need to go. Where's Tunisia?
In North Africa.
Right here. Tunisia. We're going to North Africa. We're not going. Get off. Where's Tunisia? We were supposed to go to Nice. We told the guy Nice.
I can't get enough of this, you guys.
We told them Nice.
Yes, later. After this flight.
It's gonna go to Nice?
You change the plane later.
We're gonna have to go change it in Tunis. Okay, we'll just stay. We're just gonna go. We'll just stay. Sorry. Everyone's laughing. Okay, we're going to Africa. Tunisia. We told the guy we're going to Nice, and he thought we were going to Tunis.
Oh my God, you guys. So what this brought up yesterday on social media is, I guess there's some story from years ago about someone thinking they're going to Oakland, California, but ended up in Auckland, which I think is that in New Zealand? Oh my God. So there are some classics here, but this was this doesn't usually happen, after 9/11. So this was from 1985. And a guy went to Auckland, New Zealand, instead of Oakland, California. It's all good. I personally would be pretty excited to go to Tunisia, but to each his own. So guys, have a great day. Looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow morning. And we will leave you with the fabulous show. This fabulous song for the show, our theme song from Jason. Thank you, my amazing mods, Mod Squad. Couldn't do this without you.
Hello, prison mates. It's the Gen Taub show. Well, welcome everyone. Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There was hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub show.